Hello, hello. We are so happy to join you today. This is going to be a lot of fun for us. I hope it's a lot of fun for you. I'm Dava Newman.
I'm Katie Coleman.
And I get to introduce Katie just a little bit more. She's an astronaut. 3 missions, 2 on the shuttle, 1 on space station. So we just wanted to show you a little bit of her experience off Earth, for Earth. This is in Russia. You want to narrate it, or do you want me?
I'll make stuff up instead. That was back in 2010, the day after my 50th birthday. Pretty good birthday present. Here we are, docking with the space station. This is my favorite part, of living up there, is that it is not about floating around. It is flying from place to place, a different way of life, of doing science. Some of those experiments weigh hundreds of pounds. I really loved being up there, and I would have spent another 6 months in a minute. I did miss my family. I brought some things with me to sort of keep me company, but it's nothing like family. And the view outside, you get to see a lot. I want you to see the window frame there, because on Apple TV and other places, you'll see looking outside, but realize that it is people who took a lot of those videos and people looking out those windows. And so those are our eyes, human eyes, looking out at the Earth.
Yeah, so amazing. Really, really amazing. Only a few hundred people, have been to space, but we spend our whole lives thinking and dreaming about humanity, again, getting off planet, searching for life. And I think all the work that we do is also to really reflect on people and planet. What can we do here for Spaceship Earth? So, there we go. Let's get on it.
So,
I don't know.
We didn't know, who was going to be in the audience, so we have an Earth horizon, a moon horizon, and a Mars horizon. And you do not have to limit yourself to just feeling kinship with one of those, okay? Because you will hear about all of them here today. So, Dava, you've worked at the intersection of space exploration, and we'll tell you about how we met at some point here today. Cutting-edge science and leadership in both government and academia. She's really always been, in my experience, I will just say that we met, a long time ago. I don't even know what year, but there would be these big committees investigating or looking at or exploring different things, and it would be basically Dava and a bunch of people, probably mostly guys, that were much older than Dava, on these committees, and it always gave me. They were the wise ones, and Dava has always been one of those people. So, from your vantage point, Dava, what's the most profound technological shift underway right now that most leaders still underestimate?
Yeah, so I think it's, the convergence of our technology, the convergence of disciplines. I've been in academia my whole life, 3 decades. But we need to rethink education, the future of education. We need to rethink, I think, industry. We'll talk a lot. There's probably a lot of folks from industry here. And so it's the breakthroughs in innovation, I find, are really at the intersections. There's those synergies, those unexpected collisions. Look, we all know we're on an exponential now with Gen AI. I use AI every day. It's a tool. We're going to get into it later. I think we want to talk about generative bio. That's coming. Sensors, right? I have Internet of all things. We're measuring and monitoring everything. More than 50% of our climate variables are measured from space. You might not have known that. Yep, but those vital signs. So we're going to talk about all these things. But the question is, so it's really thinking about and maybe helping train our brains and train our students and future workforce about fill your boardrooms, fill your discussion tables full of people who weren't trained like you. We're rocket scientists, chemists, aerospace engineer. You need all the artists, we need all the designers. We're calling all of you because you actually make us think better. And when it comes to these technological convergences and the disruption and the collisions, that's just really, really important. So we're going to dive into that in a little bit and a few more details as well.
And often as space crews, we have the luxury of looking around. I only saw 5 other faces when I was up on the space station, for the most part, on our mission. And it's really easy to know that basically no one else is coming, at least no one that's been announced, right? And so it's only you, and you as a team have to get that done. And so that's why I think both of us are so imperative that, it's the mission is something that really brings us together, but it's also having people at the table that make you a little bit uncomfortable or know other things that you don't know, especially for these intersections. So Dava, if we fast forward 20 years.
20 years.
20 years, okay. I mean, we could say 24, we could say 2050.
I love
okay.
it. I love it.
So which discovery today will we look back on as a turning point for humanity?
So I'm going to show you a little bit about those technological convergences, right? And I know this is an eye chart, but I think it's important. You can download it. It's a report we just let out from the World Economic Forum. Space is in the middle, right? Because what you do, it has to be in the middle. It's like, the New Yorker's view of the world. Space is in the middle. I know space technology. I work on it every day. But what is this picture going to look like in 20 years? This is for 2026, just got released at Davos. So just real quickly, quantum. I got to learn quantum now, right? Because that has everything to do with space. We're computing at the edge. Security, cybersecurity, paramount. Couldn't be more important. Started a war. So security, cybersecurity. Keep going around the kind of this organic node here.
I mean, you don't need the details for right now, we don't need the details for our discussion on like the little ones on the outside there. It's about these big things that are then intersecting.
Yeah, it's all connected, this convergence. So just the middle, space technologies, and then these 8, we're not going to talk about the outside, because this is actually dynamic mapping software. It's AI, sure, but it also shows you these network grams. This is neurologically your brain. This is how we think. We actually think we're perfect. We're kind of perfect pattern mappers if it's an image, right? And then how organically, here's the sphere. So biotech, life support. Can't keep our astronauts safe and healthy if we don't have the best life support. We can talk a little bit more of the details, and Katie being up on space station for so long. Energy, we want to talk to you about coming up what I call the dual challenge of energy and climate. The world needs cheap, affordable energy, just factual. And I want to hit our climate goals, because we were pretty proud of the Paris Accord in 2015. That's when I was in the Obama administration. We can do this. We can do this. Anyhow, lots to talk about that. We have a whole section on that coming up. And just to keep going around the kind of these disruption, the innovation where it's happening, autonomy, robots, they're everywhere, right? It's always people exploring, now with my machines, my rovers, my moon buggy, my Mars buggy, and AI as well. It's all integrated. That's the suite of explorers that we see, humans and all of our agents. It's human agent teaming. Manufacturing is changing. We tell you what's happening in space is radical, in case you don't think about space every day or living in space like Katie. You know what? We're floating, right? You saw Katie floating through. So the 3D printing, imagine making a perfect crystal. A perfect what? Right, a perfect crystal. Perfect crystallization. The next biotech, we will have $1 billion drug made in low Earth orbit in space. It's just this, it's the world's most amazing laboratory that you got to live in. And then going full circle, I have climate up there. And then the last one, again, we already talked about AI. So I think those are all, I know it's a lot, but those are all the technologies that we've mapped, we've linked. What do they have to do with one another? And I really think in the next decade, you asked me 20 years, that's hard to have the crystal ball. But we all have to be at least facile, interested, make it our business to be educated about where these tools, where these technologies are going. Most importantly, it's going to be about our human decisions. It's not going to be about my technologies. I'm a technologist, but we can't fall in love with our technologies. It's really going to be about how we use them, again, for people and planet, and those important decisions we make to lift everybody up. That's what I want to do.
So what I'm hearing is that Dava's been a professor most of her life, I would say. Students are always asking, at least me, what should I study if I want to be an astronaut? And I said, well, we're all going to be living in space. There's going to be so many people. And so if there's something that you're passionate about, if it applies down here on Earth, it applies up there in space. It doesn't have to be something you imagine for space. So what I'm hearing is that actually one path, you should be really as good as you can be at something that you care about, and at the same time realizing that you're going to need to understand the things that are adjacent.
Yeah, these are all adjacents. There's going to be surprising things. We can't foretell the future, but we know that I think there is a technological kind of super convergence coming up. AI into biology, organic, when we can, large language models, not too interesting to me. Sorry, all you folks out there. It's math, it's statistics. I use them a lot. What's much more interesting to me personally in our research that we're doing, about nature models. If we're ingesting all of biology, the building blocks of life, I'm much more interested in living systems and finding life elsewhere, probably on Mars, maybe our ocean worlds. We'll talk about that. But and then measuring and monitoring everything. So it's not just one thing. It's not just one technology. We do have this whirlwind, I believe, of convergence between the AI, the bio, and then having lots and lots of data, petabytes of data, more data than I know what to do with. Should we talk about finding life?
Well, I was just going to say you spent most of your life thinking about, basically just, things beyond Earth. So what would discovering life elsewhere mean for humanity?
Yeah.
Not just scientifically, but like the whole big picture, like I know you address all the time.
All right, so one of my favorite topics, right? We say in all of exploration, I think as explorers, there's only a few fundamental questions, and our big fundamental questions are we alone?
Okay, I did one time. Oh, yeah,
participation?
let's see, okay.
Are we alone? Meaning in the universe. Are we alone? Hands up. All right.
All right. Well, we don't know. That's the deal.
Well, I don't think we are either. See, they're smart. This is a super smart crowd here. Okay, what about habitable planets? Do we have habitable planets? Yep. Okay, hands should be going up. I got 6,000 exoplanets. Only 24 of them are interesting because they're Earth-like, right? Those are the habitable planets that I care about.
So far.
So far, yeah, 6,000, but 24 of them. We call it, if you don't study exoplanets every day, it's like in the Goldilocks zone, right? Not too hot, not too cold, kind of Earth-like, maybe a rocky core. Boom. My money is that life might exist there. And then closer to home, when are we going to find life, meaning elsewhere? What do you think? When are we going to find life elsewhere?
Well, I don't think it's going to be cute. Okay. Well, seriously. But it's going to be so exciting in a scientific way, and we're already finding the building blocks. So I just don't think it's very far away.
Not very far. I think it'll happen in this decade.
Next 10 years? Do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll happen in this decade, which is crazy. It's a generational discovery, hopefully a century discovery. So that's why I have Mars here. If you want, download our recent report, A Science Strategy for Human Exploration of Mars. I think it's pretty good. Hope you like it. And we just released it. And there's a lot in here, but we identified 11 top science priorities. See, usually we have human spaceflight community. That's kind of where we come out of. And then we have all the amazing scientists. And everyone works in their silos. No, not anymore. When we send humans to Mars, this is for the first 3 missions, I want the best badass scientists ever, because we have serious business. We're going there, objective 1. First priority, find the evidence of life. Extinct, right? Or it can be extant, past or present. Mars and Earth are so cool. Did I mention that Spaceship Earth is my favorite planet? I should say that, just to make sure. Station identification, I think about a lot of planets. But Earth, this is the one. This is one we care about. Back to Mars. Earth and Mars are both 4.5 billion years old. Life worked out pretty well for us, right? We have a nice life support system. We're doing pretty well. We think Mars had life 3.5 billion years ago. Fast forward to today. What happened? Well, it lost its atmosphere. We have a 1% carbon dioxide atmosphere on Mars. We got to drill really deep, get beneath that Martian cryosphere. Deep drilling, I think it's like probably 2 to 5 kilometers deep. Yeah, we need a technology push for sure. We have water, we have all the building blocks of life on Mars. Sulfur, hydrogen, oxygen, I got them all. So I think life just wants to exist. Will we find life on Mars today? I'm not sure. I would bet on finding past life, billions of years old. And then I got all the ocean worlds I want to go to. Our moons, Enceladus, right? We got Europa there, Titan, Triton, Ganymede. I want to go to all of them because
she practiced that. I'm just saying.
They're ocean worlds, right? We have pretty amazing oceans. I'm a big sailor as well, so I love oceans. I love being in the ocean. I get my good thinking done there. And in the solar system, these ocean worlds, they have water. They're water worlds, literal water worlds. And beneath the ice is usually a couple kilometers deep. But in that water, that's probably where life is. That's what we're betting on. So we need missions, science missions to all these beautiful places if we want to find definitively the evidence of life elsewhere, just like close by.
So can we have a short logistical break here where, who's going to do this? I mean, it used to be the domain of governments, right? And you were the deputy administrator, which means the number 2 person at NASA that gets all the stuff done. I had the pleasure of being at headquarters when Dava was there, and Dava is somebody who combines science, art, culture, just by breathing, and it really was an amazing thing to have her at NASA headquarters. But today, we have, these were things that you were a part of making happen. It's a mix of public institutions, startups, global partnerships, and you defined that was public-private partnerships as the deputy. Are they working?
I think so. I hope so. Hope some of you have. So public-private partnerships, it takes everybody. It takes everybody. The government, when it comes to NASA or European Space Agency, governments are investing. And my opinion, personal opinion, I'm not in the government anymore, of course, is that that's what we need. That's what governments do. They fund science and technology and education. Why is the U.S. so incredible? Innovation. We're here to talk to you about innovation. We'll put a framework out in a minute, but it's just. When we're at our best, that's what we do. We fund the future. We fund our kids. We fund education. We fund the breakthroughs in science and technology. So our public-private partnerships at NASA, it was like, hey, the government's in. I'm the Apollo professor. I want to get back to the moon. We have got to have a plan to do lunar and Mars exploration. Mars, because it's just so darn interesting scientifically. It's the best close place we can go. And the moon, because we got to figure this out. We haven't been for over 50 years. That makes me sad. 2 weeks, we're going to launch, I think, Artemis 2. I hope that's like Apollo 8. So we're going to launch in a couple weeks, and we'll just go around the moon, but it'll be cool. Hey, the furthest humans will ever have gone since the Apollo days. And then Artemis 3, Artemis 4. We got to get back to the moon. We'll go to the moon mostly to kind of buy down our technologies. So the government is investing a lot. These are big, expensive programs. You got to be perfect. You got to get it right. We could talk about me giving the failure award at NASA. But the commercial lunar program, that's when you bet a little money and you say, hey, industry folks, get skin in the game. You've heard from industry folks even at the South by. So that everyone's at the table. So government funding, the majority of the funding still for NASA exploration, it's going to be government. But we get industry folks with skin in the game, low Earth orbit, up on space station where Katie was doing amazing science, that business case closes. So yeah, let's turn that over to the private folks as soon as we can. I think Moon and Mars, that's always going to be more of the province of governments for exploration and a few crazy people.
Well, and just to be really clear about something you kind of glossed over, I find that there's, I certainly welcome the commercial space partnerships. And I was the chief of robotics at a time when, before they send, people up in space on spacecraft, often we send supplies up just to be checking out the systems. And I was the chief of robotics for grabbing those things and understanding how we put them on. And I would tell folks that worked with me, I said, those SpaceX people, sometimes they make a decision and they don't even have a meeting. Because that's not, or at least it didn't used to be, the government way. But we're really trying to change that. But also, basically, people always think that when the commercial companies are involved, that they are paying for everything. Yeah. And you said skin in the game. You mean they're contributing their resources.
Fixed price contracts. You got to make it or break it. But maybe that wasn't too popular. But
so in other words, these things are like the SpaceX capsule. These things are funded by the government.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a few private folks. There's a few billionaires spending their own cash, but mostly
not many.
Just two that I can name. Yeah. We don't have to name them, but yeah, very few.
Exactly. So I just think that's a common misconception. But they are still partnerships where, because the government is saying, this is what we need, here is money to do it. But at the same time, they're not telling them how to do it because we want them to be as creative.
And we work together like this, public-private partnerships. So we paid SpaceX. SpaceX was giving NASA all the credit in the world. We funded them billions of dollars. They are rocking it. Anyone who can launch 200 launches a year, we are happy about that, right? So they're doing great. We paid multiple companies. We didn't want just one company. We wanted multiple companies in the U.S. to be sending up our astronauts, to be going to the moon with the little rovers. And so those are called the commercial programs, commercial cargo, delivering cargo up, delivering the astronauts up, the commercial crew, and now we have commercial lunar. Still funded. It's all funded by the government. It's funded by the space agencies, but we're just getting people to the table here to make sure that, again, they have skin in the game. And a lot of this was fixed price contracts. It's been a really good model. We've learned a lot. NASA people will be in the industry folks actually come to NASA, and just trying to figure out how do these teams work the best? How do these teams work the best? Startups, and now they're not startups anymore, they can move fast, break things, move fast. NASA culture is about safety, test. There is no substitute for testing. You always have to test. If you don't, you get yourself in trouble. That's why we have Artemis. Now we have another new moon mission, Artemis 3 to Artemis 4. Test. These are big rockets we're on, doing big things. And so there's just no substitutes for some of this. And so the cultures have to work together, and there's plenty to learn. So there's plenty to learn from actually all three. I think, academia, industry, and government. And when we're at our best, it's teams that know what you know well and are willing to be open-minded and learn from the other folks who can make you better. And I think if I had to sum it up, that's how I would sum some of the, when you get it right, the public-private partnerships, that's what they're about. It's like getting the most excellent teams you can and making sure it's equitable, but everyone has skin in the game, and again, knowing your strengths and weaknesses as well.
So that's the who, and I just want to remind people of the what. Like when Dava talks about, so we've got things going in low Earth orbit, which for us on the space station is about 250 miles above your head, very often if you're living in Austin.
400 kilometers, I'll translate. NASA kind of got in trouble with Eunice before.
Anyways, so that's close. And when you design an experiment and then it doesn't work up there, you can send something else up on the next supply ship, right? So it's all about kind of in human cost, so to speak, and also cost of the program. How far away and how hard is it to figure things out in a different way if it hasn't worked? So we can land in an hour and a half from the space station if something's wrong, if we really have to land. If we want to land in a place where they are ready with supplies, pizza, and passports, that might take a couple more hours. But it's still hours away, right? And then when we talk about going to the moon, this is now, I think, more like 3 days away or more in terms of when the landing windows are. And so there's things that we can find out in low Earth orbit, and if we can, and there's things that we can find out on the ground here using zero gravity airplanes, using just plain old experiments. So we have a lot we need to figure out before it's going to be as safe as we can humanly make it.
Exactly.
To explore further.
It can never be.
So it's kind of about that whole distance thing, and that's why Mars is very far, and we're
8 months out, right? Station minutes, right?
So it's a combination of these kinds of things. I wanted to get that straight.
Moon, yeah, it's important. Moon 3 days, and round trips, 14 days on the moon of sunlight, and then followed by the lunar night. So 2 weeks of sunlight, 2 weeks of dark. Interesting place to operate, right? People probably want to do more of their operations in the daylight.
Exactly. And the things that we find out up there, I'm very proud, and I think Dava is too, that these are experiments like learning how to grow plants in a place. I mean, we'd like to have food on the way to Mars. I would anyway. And when we get there, learning how to grow plants in places where it's really hard to do that and we don't have maybe the energy or the soil or all those things. Well, it turns out, of course, those are really great Earth lessons as well. Combustion, understanding how things burn.
How many people saw The Martian? Yes, you still with us? A few, but like half
Yay.
only. They got it. Oh, it was so good. It's not going to be all potatoes, right? But they got Ridley Scott. It was a great book. Shout out to Andy, wrote a great book. Ridley Scott came to NASA. We were both at NASA at the time, and they wanted to be technically correct. So they really did a great job. I have three picks, three quibbles, but that was not obvious. That was going to be a bestseller.
The younger generation is prepared. I mean, when I say, going to the bathroom up on the space station, we put everything yicky, in a thing, and it stays down there until the can is full, and then we put it in a trash ship. It burns up. Nobody ever sees it again. And then I look at them and I say, but you will not be able to do that because you will need that poop for fertilizer. And they're ready because the Martian has prepared them.
What was your favorite food on space station?
Oh, it got so I just liked comfort food. I don't know. It is actually kind of a lot of work to prepare food and stuff. So I liked lasagna and beef stroganoff and oatmeal and, you know, I don't know. Nobody goes for the food. So it's always a hard question for me to ask. I'm sort of like, you can call it food, but, you know.
Yeah, it's all like a real serious camping trip. You don't get much fresh food. Only when you get a cargo, then you get some fresh fruit and some fresh stuff, and the rest of it dehydrated. We make it as well as we can.
But a quick aside for movies like The Martian, I mean, they worked hard. Andy worked hard to make that scientifically and you know, accurate. I'm not bothered when things stray. Like, I like series like For All Mankind. I like these kinds of different ones that, especially where you can show different people than we see in history. But also, like The Martian, when that, I've looked at the astronaut applications, and there were a couple people, 1,000 people that applied when I applied back in the early 90s, and then it kind of grew. Maybe it was 3,000, maybe 4 or 5. It was about 6,000. The Martian movie came out, and 18,000 people applied. And I think it's because they were like, hey, they are like going. And if I want to be a part of that, I had better have my hand up. And I just think that the things, I know we've got some filmmakers out here, creative people, music. I mean, all of us can play a part in getting the next generation ready to find the future.
Definitely democratize in space, really, so that we'll have access for everyone. As a matter of fact, can we jump to the Earth?
I was going to say, are you ready for Earth?
Should we jump to the Earth?
Dual challenge.
I mentioned the difference. So space isn't, it's not just trivial. It's not just out there. Finding life and going to the moon and Mars, that's going to be a few people. But the point is, we can take all the brains in this room, all the brains in the world with us. And we invest in technology and on high-tech things in extreme, crazy environments. It just makes us better designers, right? If you have to design for plus or 200 degrees Celsius, the moon, it's going to make me a better Earth designer. So I want to be, really clear on whatever we do in space. I think all of our exploration, first and foremost, is actually what are we doing, for the Earth? What's this look at? So
absolutely. I mean, with that spirit of bold engineering that sent humans to the moon and are sending them back, okay? What would a climate moonshot look like?
What would a climate moonshot look like? I have some ideas on that, a few, and I need all of you, and I literally mean all of you. We need the world. So something called Earth Mission Control, right? We have space missions. We're running, people. There's always people, even if our rovers and it's our robots on Mars. Why didn't Earth get an embassy? That's what I want to know.
Why didn't Earth get a what?
Embassies for every nation. Why didn't Earth get an embassy? Earth needs an embassy. And if you would come to Earth Embassy, I think it maybe would look like this. This is actually a VR and AR experience we're working on. It's open source, so you can download the GitHub. Let me explain what's going on here. Earth, Spaceship Earth, in all of its glory. I have 100 terabytes a day of climate data, Earth data. I call them vital signs. So you're in a big surround. Right now, that's in the Antarctic behind you because our sea level rise, our glaciers melting. Both Katie and I have been to Antarctica a few times. We're studying, we're scientists. We go there to take a look. In this experience, if you will, the Earth, again, Spaceship Earth, the little globe is there because we'll show you data. And then that's a map table. It's actually Galveston. I know the next flood is coming to the Gulf.
Because this is actual data, right?
What's that?
This is actual data.
It's all data. This is, 100 terabytes a day. This is
not a game.
I'm drowning in data. It's the vital signs. That's actually a map of that orange and yellow. That's temperature data, right? And so that we do flooding scenarios. We do vignettes, flooding scenarios. That's CO2, if you can see that on the globe. And those dashboards, but we design those dashboards. That's what you care about. I might care about carbon dioxide, right? You might care about methane. Other things, maybe sea temperature, sea level rise. We have all this data. We're trying to educate people. We're trying to serve it up. And then that little pizza in the middle that's going to be your city. That's your zip code. I mentioned Galveston. Galveston kind of popped up pretty quickly there. The next flood is coming. I know that. I can tell you which day and when, but let's play it forward. So I call it satellite imagery of the future. I still take my 100 terabytes a day, petabytes a day. We've been studying the Earth and all of our systems for quite some time, but a lot of people still don't understand it. How can we really have the day in the life of anyone? And you get to be in charge. You have agency on these dashboards here. You tell us how that should be designed. What do you care about? You put in your zip code. Is it flooding you're worried about? Is it fire? We got to get people out of harm's way. And we can, kind of look at any natural disaster that we want, giving people very immersive. This is a video. It doesn't look good on the video, right? If you're in that, so here's an example. Katie and I both use augmented reality for the on-site. The NASA software is called on-site. Put in augmented reality, and you're on Mars. If I'm in the goggles, the 360 goggles, I am on Mars. You cannot tell me I'm not on Mars. I have all Mars data. I'm crawling around. I'm searching for life. I'm looking at the geology. So, Katie, can you tell your experience about when you went into augmented reality for a space station?
I do remember this because I was like, Dava, I'm back. I mean,
I'm
really
back.
It really just brought everything in the view, and almost like I felt like I could like float over, and I might fall over here on Earth, right? But it was so amazing, and I think I used to think that why would it matter so much to have video, but like this augmented reality for Mars, the people with the Mars rovers would actually meet for a few hours every day. They'd pick the targets for the next day. It was a grueling process. I mean, every day this scientists, on telecons from all over the world, once they all got Mars augmented reality headsets,
yep.
These decisions, I mean, they're all standing looking at the same like set of ridges. Should we go there or should we go up that slope? They're all looking at the same thing, having a conversation together. Those meetings turned into like 15, 20-minute tag-ups every day, as opposed to hours and hours of not being sure who's having what conversation. I'm just amazed that it's such a great, it's really powerful tool.
It's powerful. It's
powerful.
just changed how we do science. It's changed how we do planetary science. Give all the people the images, put them in place, let them decide. And so, but again, back to Earth. If we could just use some of our technologies for this decision theater, you got to get all the right people around that table to argue about what are we going to do for city planning, things like that, right? And, right, local. So it's global. Show people what's happening in the world. Again, the vital signs. Everyone, we're all in this together. We're all astronauts, by the way. She has the blue coat. Oh, the blue coat's in the back, but she has the blue coat. But guess what? We're all astronauts as far as I'm concerned. So we're zipping around our sun really quickly, and we're the crew. And we're the crew for Spaceship Earth, and we got to figure this out together. We got to figure this out together. So I want people around the table, the map table, the real table, or the digital simulated table to say, what possibly can we do? How can we work with collective action? It's not about our data, not even about our technology. It's about what can we do together to change behavior, to hit some of our goals. We've got a lot of smart people. We can do this. I'm very optimistic. I remain optimistic. I don't drown in my carbon dioxide data that's there in front of you. It was a bad year last year. Look at it this way. 2026, it's the coolest year we're ever going to, coolest meaning cold, it's the coolest year you're ever going to experience for the rest of your life. That's just reality.
And
that's just where we're at. So we got to think about this, and we got to start planning for the future. And it's not about us. It's about our kids and our grandkids, and maybe if we were really smart, that ancient wisdom. It's about 7 generations that haven't been born yet.
And that idea of Spaceship Earth and that we are the crew. When I talked about looking out and seeing only 5 other people, if you can really try to absorb how that feels, like you and the people where you live are the only people that have that perspective of what it's like, what kind of data you need to make decisions for where you live, what kind of ideas you will have that somebody from somewhere else will never have. They'll never have your perspective unless you bring it to them. And so everybody's perspective is really important. No one else is coming to your zip code or to our whole planet. But Dava, often when you talk about this, I guess I should just first ask, the most promising breakthroughs that you think we could have.
What's that saying?
The most promising breakthroughs in climate and energy, because it is a dual.
Yeah. So we kind of
right? Or again, there's
hope.
opportunity.
These people don't get overburdened, and it's so heavy. Well, my answer, I guess, we'll talk about breakthrough technologies, but I think my philosophy, my wisdom, is from Bucky Fuller. People know Bucky Fuller?
Buckminster Fuller?
Yeah, he was a mentor of Geese. So Bucky Fuller, Earth operating system. Maybe, again, Earth didn't get an embassy, Earth didn't get an operating system. Maybe that's what we got wrong. We just don't know how to operate the full thing. So again, Bucky said that the world, meaning the world has to work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through collective action without any ecological disadvantage. So that's a big, audacious ask. Bucky was right, and now I'm on it. So every day I wake up, what's the most important thing you can be working on? For me, it's actually climate. Second is space, getting back to the moon and Mars and learning from the technologies. But I'm just very focused on every day, what can we do? Everyone can take action, everyone can. So for the breakthroughs, for the moonshot, for the climate, I think that it's gonna be through that grassroots, through that collective action. One of my research projects now is, just called the Climate Pocket. It's right here, This is what we need. I want my big AR, VR simulation. I use supercomputer simulations for all this data, these vital signs, all this data we have from NASA that we're collecting. But what I care about is actually serving it up to you right here in your hand. I call it the Climate Pocket, because then you have agency. You say, what do you need to know about? What data do you need? What actions can you do? So just get people unstuck. Just get people unstuck. We can all do something. We can all do something. So for me, I'm very optimistic. We would have to accelerate positive actions for Earth, for sure. But we can do this. We can do this, people. So again, I remain optimistic. We just got to get on it. And
can people see this?
What's that?
Can people get to this data?
Yeah. We'll give we can share it's a GitHub, because these are vignettes. We have them all over the Earth. We had Galveston, the fire is where our big fires, so you can go to Sydney, Australia, go to the Northwest. I'm originally from Montana. It's burning up. We don't have any snow. I was just there at a conference. It's gonna be a really bad fire year in the West, a really bad fire year in the West. So what can we do to get people out of harm's way? What tools can we develop? What technology can we develop? At the end of the day, it's gonna be about the human decisions, and how much suffering are we willing to endure? Like we've got to change. I don't want people to suffer. It's sad. I don't want people to suffer at all. We don't want to lose people. And so it is, I think, the most important thing that all of us can be working on now, equipped with our space data, but it's really of how do we get people, planet, humanity back in balance? And the ancient wisdom has told us, so I think it's time. So I've been reading everything I can and working with people all over the world, but especially Indigenous communities, because the wisdom is there. And I think we just maybe had our blinders on for a while. Now I have the blinders wide open minds. The world has to work for 100% of humanity, or else it's really not worth living well. We won't live our best lives if we can't get this done.
So let's see. I showed that we're coming up on quarter of. We wanted to have time for a few questions, if we could. So we've still got some more to get through.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on to number 4?
What's that?
Do you want to move on to number 4?
Yeah.
Innovation.
Where are you at?
And leadership. But I want. It's kind of, I was just going to tell you that
Try
this
a
is
little
kind
bit
of
more
where we
about
are.
innovation, or
What's that?
ask away.
Okay.
Ask
away. Many organizations struggle to move from invention to impact. What practices turn bold ideas into real-world innovation?
We're in invention, so a little bit
If I
more.
skipped over something, you can.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I'll throw at the risk of because we can go to Mars later. We've been to Mars, but we're going to skip that because you asked me about this.
I'm not skipping that. Okay.
No.
First of all, spacesuits. You saw that really cool-looking spacesuit designed by Dava. I mean, some of the research that Dava has done on the space station and on the space shuttle actually changed how we designed the space shuttle or space station. So sorry. Research that she did on the space shuttle, and I was part of. Actually changed the way, kept us from over-designing the space station, because she made them understand that when astronauts are moving around, this is actually the forces that they put on the structures and things like that. But she's really this person who has looked at, well, let's not just design a spacesuit for walking on the moon, but one that actually helps us do that even better, and that has applications down here on Earth. So she's been a lot of places in her academic life. and those are all big innovations, really, that have affected our development of the space station and also spacesuits in a very big way. But she's boiled it down and gotten to a big picture here.
Thanks. So what will it take, especially for business people out there, see if this is useful for you? It turned out coming up with an innovation framework for NASA, and I use it now in academia as well. So just to orient you a little bit, hopefully you can see some of that, but it's color-coded. So if you want to be really innovative, see that green down on the bottom? I call that continuous innovation. And that's just being excellent every day. 80% of innovation we think happens, and keep your same technology, keep your same business model, or your same organization, same business model, same tech. Doesn't cost a lot, just the intentionality. I am here to innovate. I am here to do great things. That's what that green piece is, if you will. If you go over to the right, that's what I call revolutionary innovation. That is the technology push. That's where my spacesuits go. I have 4 different spacesuits, some for exercise, some to keep people alive outside the spacecraft, some for Moon, Mars, things like that. And that's the big push. I shrink wrap people, put mechanical counterpressure right on the skin. So that's all about the technology push. Don't change your business model. Just, do what you're doing. If you go over to the left, that's that red quadrant. That's what I call disruptive innovation. That's what Clay Christensen and folks are in innovation. That's disruptive innovation. Now you have changed the business model. You've got to change your organization. No tech push. There's really not a lot of new technology. This is where SpaceX clearly fits. Very disruptive business model. Very disruptive business model is working great. And then pause and reflect. Say, if we were really smart, if we could really, really do this, wouldn't we do a technology push and kind of the business model, the organizational, we would change them at both the same time? That's way up at the top, that little teal stripe. I call that transformative innovation. And it's been helpful. It helped us at NASA say where should we spend money, how much on technology, but about changing organizations and things like that. So I think it's kind of so we've written about it, we use it, I still use it most daily, just to, where do you place your bets? What are you going after? Very intentional about, what you want to change.
Yeah, to me it was really interesting, and Dava actually came up with this framework. And now when I'm thinking about when someone says, let's do it this way, I begin to think in terms of, are we changing, the technology or the actual way we're doing this, or, and are we changing the, organization? And I think it's great to really separate things out. And the colors here are not necessarily good or bad. It's just that realizing what things are changing and why. And of course, the turquoise there is small because it's the hardest to do
It's
to
hard.
change a lot of things.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Finding life, that's hard. You got to change your technology, you need new business models, and change your technology. It's hard for us. It's all hard for us as organizations to do that all at once.
Can you talk about some practices that actually can help you turn those bold ideas into
it was great.
world
So
innovation?
we actually had a lot of fun kind of changing culture. This was changing culture. So first thing I did, kind of had that framework, and then first of all, I said, we got to change culture at NASA. So I gave a failure award. Okay, so true answers here. We like audience participation. So who's really comfortable with failure?
I'm comfortable with failure, at the low level, the part not everybody knows about.
So I was like, I got this. We have T-shirts. We have T-shirts at NASA. Failure is not an option.
I hate that one, actually.
I know.
Because it's really...
I bought one just because I could have one, right? Apollo 13, that was great for Apollo 13, but that doesn't cut it now.
I mean, we got to bring them home. That's what they meant. We cannot not bring the crew home. I like that,
You
okay?
got to take risks. I want to fly new technology, so we got the helicopter flown on Perseverance. It's on Mars. It's like, no, we're going to do this. You have to say yes. You can't be a no zone. You have to say yes. Of course, when astronauts' lives are on the line, safety is paramount. Safety is always paramount. But just to open up the aperture, and so I was at the Media Lab recently, right? Last 4 years, guess what? Even people at the Media Lab, we're the crazy, wild artists, designers, and thinkers at MIT. But we spent all February. We called it Flubruary. And once a week, we would come in and say, here's these magnificent failures we've had. And it was students and faculty and staff and just having fun and just saying, no, let's just open up the aperture. Because we actually know we learn much more from our failures. As a designer, right, I am going to, once I fail once or twice, I know it's going to take me probably 9 times to get it right. But that's iterative design. But boy, oh boy, if someone says just keep at it, supports you, and you know that you're going to learn, rather than someone saying no and you're risk averse, you can't fail, you have to get it perfect. It's just that's not the design culture, it's not the intellectual culture we want to live in. So that was part of it as well. Just trying to make sure to have some fun, open up the aperture, and make sure to put people on teams that they can get their best work done.
So before we go on to questions, just one quick question. Do you have any thoughts on, without naming anybody specific, but what distinguishes, you've led the Media Lab, NASA, major research. What distinguishes leaders who successfully harness breakthrough technologies from those who miss the mark?
Miss the mark.
Not personal, but more just kind of characteristics and...
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I'm biased here, so we can debate it, see what you think. I need to ask you, but thinking about, again, I think the technologies that have the purpose, do the best, thinking very intentionally. I work in human-centered design, so humans, again, with our machines, our technologies, what are we doing? I'm an engineer, so actually, took an oath to serve humanity. That's our oath. So, I take that quite seriously. Like, I have to be thinking about the future. I have to think about my technologies, and are they really making an impact, and can they help people? And I expand it now to all living creatures, all living beings. So I think it's more of that, I don't know if I answered your question, but it's kind of more of that intent about, why am I here? What am I working on? What good can I possibly do? We all take our different skills and say, take all those skills, what can we do to, so that's the kind of the technology answer, or at least how I frame technology.
Okay. Well, shall we?
I think so.
Any last
there's
words?
a Slido up here. Yeah. You want to talk about, should we end on, we're gonna leave lots of time for you, which is now, we have a clock here, so we can see, we're gonna leave like about 10 minutes, hopefully, good. Some questions are starting to come up. Okay. So let's see. And we can both answer them too. This is a tag team. If you haven't noticed, we're dear friends.
Oh.
We love each other, and kind of two women on a similar path, I guess, throughout the universe for a while.
Yeah, I got invited to give a talk at MIT in the Aero-Astro department. And I did come from there, but I was like, you guys realize I'm an astronaut, but I was trained as a chemist, and so I don't know about the Aero-Astro department. And they were like, well, it's the freshmen. And I said, okay. But part of that was eating lunch with the Aero-Astro faculty, which meant eating lunch with 40 people who did not look like Dava Newman, and seeing Dava Newman in the corner and thinking, I'd kind of like to meet that woman, which there wasn't time that day. And the next morning, she was on the same plane to Houston the next morning, and it just turns out we have a lot in common. She came up, introduced herself.
1993 we met. We talked that whole plane to Houston, and we're synergistic, and talking about our sweethearts. We're kind of more artists and designers, and
exactly.
We've been really great friends ever since.
It's true. So actually, there was a question there that was really, I want to get it done early so that we don't end on a sort of
Should we take
thing?
There's great questions here, so we'll rattle them off, give you our opinions on how might the convergence of these technologies save us from the climate crisis. Technologies will not save us from the climate crisis. This is a human issue that we've gotten out of balance with our living systems. Technology can help. Technology can help. Can we accelerate some progress? But that one, pretty emphatic about, we have got to get this, we have got to work together, people, and let's take energy and climate, the dual challenge. I'm very open-minded, so let's accelerate change. Shout out to Texas, the most investment in solar, right, of all 50 states. Go Texas, go. You got to keep going, right? Followed by California. We just hit a tipping point. It was always California. Texas just invested more in renewables. That's part of it. We need some pretty crazy technology, some bridge technologies. Natural gas, yep, we need it. If we're going to get off of fossil fuels, nuclear batteries. I love nuclear batteries. Don't be shocked. These are not nuclear power plants. These are not big, huge nuclear plants. These are batteries. 2 of them would fit up on this stage. Guess what? If I take one of those nuclear, it's like the size of a cargo. And so we take that, take it all over the world. That's going to power a population of about 250,000 people, 250,000 people, all the energy you need. That's great technology, in my opinion. The world needs it. The world needs it. Is it safe? Is it clean? So it's going to be a portfolio. It's going to be a portfolio, I think, of investments and technology push. And then humanity, all of us holding each other accountable, because we can't just keep going on this exponential up and up and up and wasting our resources. So I think we're going to have to also change human behavior in a pretty drastic way. But I'm excited about it. We can all do something. Yeah, little actions every day. All of us can take a few little actions.
In our neighborhoods. I want to change to the equation. To what extent is cooperation between the U.S., China, and Russia critical for advancing space programs? Ooh. And as a leader of the agency, I'm pretty interested in your opinion.
Thanks for the question. I believe in soft diplomacy. My second experiments, I had experiments up on the Mir space station, Russian for peace. Katie's fluent in Russian. we all like to work together in space, but I think the most important thing is, again, never going to be about our technology or working together. It's going to be about soft diplomacy. What does that say? Since 2000, we've had astronauts living on International Space Station from the US, from Russia, from all over Europe. Actually, over 100 nations have sent science up. So it's a great example of truly an international model that we can all work together. The US Congress, something called the Wolf Amendment, they prevent NASA from actually engaging with China on space, military or civil. So
on the technical side.
We have a lot of constraints. We were able to work with China with air traffic control and talking about best practices. U.S. carriers, there's a lot of money at stake. We're flying all over the world, so we were able to work and share maybe best practices and things like that. We're definitely constrained though by law these days. But I'm for soft diplomacy, and everyone hope a peaceful exploration, especially when we get to Moon and Mars.
So, Dava, what's been weighing on your mind the most these days related to space tech, humanity, otherwise? We still have a few questions left, so you can be really discouraged or discouraging in this answer if you want.
Yeah, just, well, this has been a great, South Boy, so again, a lot of technology or sessions I went to as well, but I think not enough talk about, again, humanity with the intention of what we have. Let's have the discussion. Let's just say AI, right? Let's have the discussion. Is it working for you? And see, I take that as a responsibility. As a technologist myself, I have got to design it to be responsible and trusted. And this is a runaway train. It's not okay. If it doesn't represent everybody in this room, these algorithms, it's not representing everyone, then I'm willing to say it doesn't work. If it doesn't work for you, and it doesn't work for everybody, that's just not good enough. Because we should be able to, again, hold ourselves accountable. Is it trusted? Is it reliable? I want to own my own data, frankly. I want to own my own data, and then I can give it to people if I want. So we kind of got this mixed up. We thought the internet was going to be the equalizer and give everyone access to information and data. So it wasn't foreseen. Then that would be monetized at the rate that it is. But again, the future. I'm always about the future, and we can do better. And so I think we can get this right, say, Web3 and things like that. But we got to have these tough discussions. We really need to have these tough discussions and upfront ask how technology is working or is not working, I think, for people, the users of the technology, and the environment as well.
Katie, what was the worst part of being back in, the worst part, oh wait, I didn't read it right. What is the worst part about being in low gravity? Losing things. Like we didn't until a while ago have a TV, but I can lose the remote to anything in moments, several times a day. The phone, it's not my strength to hold on to things. I ask my husband, I'm like, do you want a divorce, sweetie? He goes, no, I just want you to keep your wallet in the same place. Well, it's a good thing I didn't have one up there, because when you let something go, you don't even know you're sort of holding it, because it doesn't weigh anything, and you can lose stuff, and it could be something to somebody else's experiment. So you actually do have to be really intentional of, holding on to things. And that was the only inconvenient thing I loved. I loved being up there. And I loved it, just the flying from place to place. I could take a single hair from my head, spread it between my fingers, and push off of a railing, and it would push me across the whole space station. And so the magic of that is what reminds us that things are different, and there is so much that we could be learning, and it never stops.
Yeah. And you said right when you came back, you said, I want to go back. You loved it.
Well, I just thought, to me, going the rocket, that's great. I just want to be up there. I want to live up there. I want to do some of the work where it's work we can't do down here. And after it was the longest mission on the shuttle ever, our mission at the time, and I just thought, why are we packing up to go home? We have so much more work we could be doing up here. So I was really excited.
And can you share the overview effect with the audience? What did it look like? What did it do to you?
I think there is a phrase called the overview effect, and I very much respect and applaud Frank White, who's the person who coined that phrase and makes people think, what would it look like if I had a perspective that was brand new and almost just beyond what I could envision? And you don't have to go to space to get that, I don't think. But for me, I kind of don't like having a name for it, because it kind of implies it might all be the same for all of us. And I know that it's not. For me, it was about looking down and realizing how connected everyone could be. And if only they knew that, at least some of them would connect, and we'd have more solutions to more problems, because they would realize, I mean, somebody else just so close by, we are all from the same place. I mean, when we go to Mars, those bumper stickers are going to say E for Earth, okay? Because it's where we're all from.
And that's, I think, addresses one of these questions. You know, the optimism to give young people. That's the optimism that I have to give young people is just, I mean, this beautiful image up there. I guess we're looking at this beautiful image. I guess you're looking at us. You know, but again, Earth from space, the overview effect that, I mean, sometimes, you know, astronauts do just pause and cry looking down at Earth. It is so beautiful. I love the mountains. I love to sail. Anytime I'm out in nature, you know, it's just, I'm totally, you know, overcome, because I'm just always struck by how beautiful the Earth is. The students I have, they're so smart. So what gives me optimism for the future is our kids, and it's our kids and our kids. Now, it's our responsibility. We got to try to get this right. You know, we have a lot of big challenges. We've talked about some of them. You know, there's a lot of big challenges, but just empowering people, the young folks, and I don't call it STEM education. We're both trained in STEM. I actually
Well, we're trained in STEM. We're married to STEAM.
STEAmed. And I have always called it STEAmed.
A for art.
And I came up with STEAmed when I was actually waiting to testify at the Congress. And I always put in A for art. So shout out to all you artists. You're the visionaries. You paint the pictures. I talk about, you know, Mars all the time, exoplanets. Who knows what those look like? No one. It's like the artists bring the stories and you know, convey those pictures. I always, you know, love collaborating and working with artists because you're such visionaries. And D, I put STEAmed. Personally, I'm a little bit mad. I'm pretty steamed, because we haven't gotten this right. We haven't been lifting up all of our kids through education. And there's a whole new generation of designers, 3D makers, right? It doesn't have to be, it can be informal education, just tinkers and makers, you know, little MacGyvers. They're all out there, right? And so they have to know. So my message to, you know, the young folks, the students, is that, you know, we got your back. And think those wild, beautiful, crazy ideas. And go home and tell your folks that, first of all, you belong, and we need you. We need you. We need your innovation. We need all of you. We need every little brain out there. I'm not weeding anyone out. I'm not filtering anyone out. I know I need everything. I know I need everyone. And the U.S., I'm really proud of the U.S. and our innovation and our technology push. So it's the message we got to tell our young people is we need you. You know, there's room for you. We see you, and you belong. And I don't know, Katie, I think we have some of the, you know, the best jobs going, right? We've been pretty lucky. We've been pretty fortunate. So we are recruiting, you know, the next generation of climate scientists, of astronauts, of folks who are going to, you know, help us with these big, hairy challenges.
So, Dava, you've said that your guiding mantra is love, act, discover, innovate. How does that philosophy shape how we should approach the future?
Yeah, thanks. So it's I don't know, it's just as much as like, we need to love one another. I just, right? And again, back to the artists and musicians, and, you know, when are you enjoying? And always love first. I just say, always love first. Not division, not hate. Hate and fear are just cheap. They're just cheap. I don't want to live in a world. I don't want to associate, you know, but that's just not, it's just, it's not compassionate. It's not, again, I think what humans and friends, so I think love, we should talk about love, and it's nothing, you know, as a rocket scientist, yeah, I just want to love all of you and your neighbors, and what can we do together? So we, for sure, are better with love. I know that, for sure, and we're happier. So always have to start with love. Act. We can't just take this, you know, sitting down. We have got to act, and whatever that means in you know, your career and your life, and action is how you'll be judged, I believe. Action is how we'll all be judged. Do we take the right actions? Do we do it with integrity and honesty, and back to failing, and then act again? Once I've learned, I fail, I get reset, you know, I come back. Discovery, I mean, the wonder and the awe. Hopefully we've, you know, shared some of that with all of you today, just looking out into the stars and knowing that each one of them is a planetary system. So just on a continual, you know, kind of journey of discovery, finding life elsewhere, just discovery, always being blown away by the infinite, because just infinite out there, bringing that back to home. And my eye is actually for innovation. And again, I think that maybe the magic of pretty much everywhere I've been in academia, in the U.S., in government, and even little in industry. That's our special sauce. That's the U.S. special, is our innovation engine. And I just want to keep it going.
Well, Dava, you've been a leader, a teacher, somebody that is a visionary that shows all of us, at least for me, always makes my world bigger. I want to thank you very much for sharing these thoughts today. And what I love the most is that she's fairly unstoppable, okay? And that gives me a lot of hope for the future, because there's so many people here, and each of us in our own way, that has that power to change the future. And so I just thank you for all the things you've done and for today.
Thank
Thanks.
you. I love you, Katie. My sister. Thank you all. Enjoyed it.